You're listening to the Mind Over Finger podcast, episode number 179. Welcome to the Mind Over Finger podcast, where we dive into the world of mindful music making, peak performance, and crafting a purpose-driven life and career. I'm your host, violinist, certified performance and life coach for musicians, and your guide to unlocking your full potential, Dr. Renée Gauthier. Hi, everyone. As always, I hope you're doing amazingly well as you're tuning in to this episode. Today is another Backstage Pass episode for you, and I'm so thrilled to bring you an exceptional musician and human horn player, David Cooper. David is the Associate Principal Horn of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and before his LA Phil appointment, he was Principal Horn of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and Principal Horn of the Dallas Symphony. He also served as Principal Horn of the Berlin Philharmonic, acting Principal Horn with the Victoria Symphony in Victoria, British Columbia, and co-associate Principal Horn of the Fort Worth Symphony. He's been guest Principal Horn with other world-class orchestras, including the Philadelphia Orchestra, New York and LA Phil, the London Symphony Orchestra, and the Hong Kong Philharmonic. David is an avid chamber musician and performs as a soloist all over the world, and he's given masterclasses in America, Asia, Europe, and Australia. He comes from a horn-playing family. Both his uncle and grandmother performed as professional horn players in the Lansing Symphony in Michigan, and he's a graduate of the Curtis Institute of Music. We had a great time covering many topics that I know you're going to find interesting. We discuss how he handles maintaining a large repertoire and the importance of practicing fundamentals, how he likes to learn music through creative interpretation, his views on passion, purpose, and dedication in music, his pre-performance rituals, and how he practices self-care as a high-level artist, and redefining success in music performance. David is such a wonderful person, and I know you're going to walk away inspired by the wisdom he shares with us today. So, without further ado, for you, David Cooper, Associate Principal Horn of the LA Philharmonic, enjoy your Backstage Pass. David Cooper,
Hey.
So excited that we get to chat.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Renee.
We're here about
Renee Paul, excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you.
The full.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're here sitting backstage at Ravinia. We're about to play concert. There's
Based Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto with Jeremy Dank.
okay. So Beethoven Fourth Piano Concerto, Copland 3,
Yeah.
and then in the past few weeks you were magnificent in Mahler 5, Tchaik 5.
Thank you.
What else? Beethoven 9.
Yeah.
So much good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here at Ravinia this year. We're doing all the fives, it seems like.
Right.
We're doing Prokofiev 5, we're doing Tchaik 5, Mahler 5, Shostakovich 5, and then Beethoven 3. But, they can't all be fives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most for tonight's performance?
Oh, man. And there's like a fanfare part of Copland 3. It's it's like the fanfare for the common man, right? And it's just so powerful. And it kind of like starts with the woodwinds and then it goes to the brass. And, it's just, I don't know, to hear that with this brass section and, just kind of be in a different environment than downtown. It's a little more free out here. It's a little bit more connected to nature and a little bit more relaxed, even though we're still making sure we cover all our bases and take care of all the details and make great music. There's just more of a fun, it's like a fun summer camp. It's fun out here. And, you hear the birds chirping and there's, the trees and the winds in the trees and you hear the train occasionally in the middle of the performance,
It's real life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You were just talking about, Tchaik 5, Prokofiev 5, all of those big works. It's week after week, several programs every week. What does that look like for you to maintain so much repertoire with this fast pace like this?
Well, my first couple of years was really, you're still kind of getting used to all the repertoire and learning it and then kind of figuring out how you fit in the orchestra and, No, it feels more like you just know what to do. Like I know when I have big pieces coming up, I need to look at them, weeks in advance, and and I'm always in shape, right? I'm always practicing a lot, so that's the main thing. But then also just making sure that I'm refreshed in all these pieces because we're doing these pieces downtown, most of them during the season. So. Yeah.
So the act of repetition is really helpful there.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't my first time playing any of the fives. I've played Czech 5 a number of times. This is, I played Mahler 5 a few times, and Prokofiev 5 I played a number of times. Shostakovich 5 I played a few times. So, I know they're big horn parts, but for me, it's just a matter of okay, I know what in this means a lot of attention, and just kind of figuring out where to put my attention and then how to, practice that.
You just talked about how you are in shape. And that's one of the questions that I get a lot from listeners is the type of things professionals like yourselves include in their practice. Are there things that you always include in your practice sessions?
Oh my gosh, fundamentals. Fundamentals are so important for me. So I start every day with a really consistent, you could say basic warm-up routine. And it focuses on sound and tone production and air. And then later on, it focuses on mouthpiece buzzing, just getting through the whole register of the horn. And then it goes into articulations, pitch bends, note centering. There's just a lot of stuff that I do that it's it sounds really boring. And, even my daughter, who's 19 months old, sings it. I do this thing on the mouthpiece where I go in fourths. And she imitates the tone of the mouthpiece. She goes, so that's kind of funny.
It's good that you're teaching her the fundamentals early on.
Yeah, exactly. She goes, that's what Dad sounds like.
That's very good. Because that's one of the things that I think it's hard to stick to a fundamental regimen because people are so eager to jump to the fun stuff, the big repertoire. But the fundamentals are just called fundamentals for a reason.
Well, I think it's hard because they're so basic, right? They're not exactly the most interesting thing to play every day, musically speaking. But I always find I learn something about myself because the routine is so basic that I am allowed to show up however I am. And wherever I'm at, if I'm feeling tight or I'm feeling tired or I'm feeling loose or I'm feeling just really good, I show up to these warm-ups and I check in and I say, where am I? This is the baseline, and how do I compare to this baseline? So I'm really just using it as a tool to observe myself and find how I can best come towards center. And then with what I have that day, I figure out, okay, this is what I have, physically, and this is what I have to do. These are the challenges of my job, and this is how I have to make these work.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of navigating that.
Yeah. I love that. It sounds like a way for you to tune in with yourself.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Pun intended.
Oh, yeah, I guess, right? Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Another question I get often is, you talked about fundamentals. People always wonder what it looks like for other people to take a piece from zero to performance. And granted, it is very context dependent and what the performance is and what the piece is. But do you have an example for us of what it looks like for you to take a piece from having never played it to stepping on stage to play it?
Okay. Well, it depends on what the scope of the piece is and what the context is. So recently, it was my first time playing the Schubert Octet, and that's, it's a pretty big undertaking. It's 5 movements. It's 50 minutes to an hour, depending if you take the repeats or not. And for me, it was okay, let's look at this piece as historical context first. So I know Schubert was classical period. It's smaller. He's known for his lieder. Let's approach it. And he's from Vienna, right? Let's approach it from that aspect. Now, what do I know about this and what can I derive from the classical period? Smaller scale of expression. And I think back to the Viennese people that I know, and they're very, they're playful, they're fun, and I would also say they're very traditional, and they're also elegant, right? Vienna was the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, right? So I think there's still some of that nobility to, and especially in those times. So taking what I know about the Viennese people and approaching this piece with that in mind. So now I go into the piece and I say, all right, we have fortes and we have pianos, but let's make that a little bit smaller. And I want to figure out where's the melody. Like, obviously, this is a song, right? Like, because Schubert is known for his songs. When do I have the tune? When do I not? And when I have the tune, how can I phrase that? Where do I breathe? And then basically, like, listen to a couple of recordings of the Vienna Philharmonic chamber players to try to get more of a Viennese flair to how I performed it. And then I really, I actually play along with the recording. I find that that's really helpful because, when I'm playing my part, I'm focused on me. But when I'm playing along with others, I want to focus on them. And I want to hear what they're doing. I want to hear their note lengths. I want to hear their articulations. I want to hear, their inflection, the time they take. And so with all that in mind, I can really try to, take a trip to Vienna without actually going there. Or, and same thing with orchestral works. Like if I'm playing a piece of Czech music, I want to listen to the Czech fill. And I want to hear how how their inflection works. Because I think music and language are very similar, right? Like if there's a composer from the Czech Republic or Bohemian, whatever you want to say, the inflections of the language are going to come through in the phrasing. They're going to come through the timing, the tone. And that's all things that I think I can use as part of my information when I'm learning a piece. So it's really, it's a wide open canvas. And I think that's the fun thing is that, we have these constrictions, these limitations. Like, I want to play in time. I want to play in tune. And for that, I need to work with my metronome and I need to work with my drone, but when I really want to learn a piece, like I can really imagine it too. I can just think of it in a creative sense without even having to pick up the horn and think about if I didn't have any limitations about my lips or air, how would I phrase this? How would I sing this? How would the melody, how would I inflect it? How soft would I play it? How loud would I play it? To what note would I be going to? How long would the phrase be? What color would I have? Tone color. Would it be bright? Would it be dark? And those things, that's the imagination. And you pick up by listening, and especially in a good orchestra like this, you listen around the orchestra and you get so many different ideas about things you can do creatively. And if you just listen, you're usually not the first person with that idea. So you can kind of steal an idea that they might have, or you can bring a new flair to it or a new flavor to it, and kind of have some fun. So it's that give and take. And that's, I think, what's fun about music is it's never the same twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on the day, depends on the player. All those things, it's even with the same players and the same conductor, it's a different piece the next night than the night before because it's a new day, new feelings. We wake up and we're different people.
Yeah. I love that scope, that everything you put into preparing the piece that's beyond just playing the notes.
Yeah, it's fun. It's that's what wakes me up in the morning. That's what, the last thing I think about before I go to bed. That's why I do this is because I'm passionate about it and I love it. Otherwise, it's it's so much work, I'd be oh my gosh, it's so much work, that I would just be resentful that I have to do if I didn't like it. And sometimes, you have to show up and do the work and yeah, it's not necessarily always fun, but you do it because it's like, you know, you've committed to doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this conversation because I'm not talking about conversation in terms of the clarity of purpose and how it infuses the work, because people imagine that sometimes when you're passionate, every single aspect of the work are enjoyable and wonderful, and they all feel wonderful. And if it doesn't, it means that something went wrong. When in fact, every single endeavor that human pursue in life, you're passionate about it, but it all comes with its share of work and effort and trials and successes. So yeah,
Setbacks.
and setbacks. So it's how can the fulfillment be found in the work itself. And I love that clarity of purpose that you have. I hope what I just said makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're just talking about showing up even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
But how do you do that?
I just know that that's what I want. You know, it doesn't feel like I want this, but I know what happens if I don't. And if I don't show up for what I need to, like my responsibilities that I've committed to myself, there's a part of me that feels like I'm not holding my end of the bargain and I'm not present with the other things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you know, I might, if I decide I want to skip practice in the morning, right? I practice first thing in the day. And I decide I want to do that, then I'm thinking about that the whole time while I'm hanging out with my family, or while I'm, hanging out with my friends, or when I'm going, I gotta go practice. I need to go practice. It's like, it's calling me. And if I don't put that time in, I feel like I haven't held my part of the bargain that day. Yeah, there are days where you're just like, man, I'm tired, but once I get in the practice room, I feel better. I don't feel tired when I'm in that chair. It's like, it's just the starting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part, is just sitting down and just getting started. But once I do start, then it's like, time slips away and it's like nothing else matters, right? Or nothing. Well, not that nothing else matters. It's just like that everything kind of like, I tunnel into what I'm doing, and
I love that.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when we show up when we don't feel like it, I mean, it could be different for everyone, but I know that for me, it builds in a self-confidence that I have my own back. I show up even when I don't feel like it.
Oh, yeah.
Committed to my purpose.
Well, I mean, the work makes me feel more confident, right? So, like, the more I'm prepared, the better I feel. So, like, when I show up on stage and I'm like really prepared, I'm not nervous because I've done the work, and I can trust that I've done the work. I know that this is going to work today because I've worked on it. I've prepared, and that's a good feeling, like to walk on stage and feel confident in yourself and your abilities because you've put in the time, and I think that's why I do it, is because it's that little bit of peace of mind. It's like, controlling the thing that I can, right? Like I stay in good physical condition. I really make sure that my body's strong, but I also make sure that I'm in shape practicing wise. And that way, it's just much easier to deal with the stress or to deal with whatever is coming at me at work.
Yeah. What about the mindset?
Oh, man. I think you have to trust yourself. And it becomes one of those things that I get in the chair and I think okay, I know how this goes. I know this. And I think the more experience I have, the more I trust myself, because the more I'm like, oh, I've done this worked out because I did the work, I prepared myself, and I'm showing up today, and I trust myself still. There's a lot of great sports books, that I've been into recently, especially talking about basketball players, and Tim Grover was a coach of Michael Jordan, and he just talked about how every day, even after the big tournaments, after the finals, he'd be like, all right, Michael, what time do you want to show up to the gym tomorrow? 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, or 7 in the morning? You know, it wasn't an option whether or not he was going to show up. It was like, hey, what time are we showing up? You know, and I think that's an inspiration for me, because it's like, hey, you look at these guys who, golly, they're playing like, you know, basically 90 minutes of basketball or however many minutes of basketball, and it's just like grueling physical exertion. And, you know, Michael Jordan used to work out before every game, you know, like, and then he'd be hitting it in the morning after, right? It's like, wow, that's the kind of dedication that I want, you know. And God knows he must have not, some days he probably didn't feel like going, but he did anyways, you know. Then I think it's because he wanted the end result, and that's what mattered to him. For me, the end result is like playing with the musical expression that I want, right? It's being able to express myself and not have to doubt my physical ability. It's like whatever I imagine, that goes in the horn because I've done the physical work and that put the time in. You know, it's like that ability to just, you know, not have to think about the technique, the ability to like think about the artistry and just let the physical take care of itself.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, it is freedom. Yeah, it's like it's freedom to allow yourself to be totally immersed in the art, your music, and like the, you know, and the story. You know, every piece has like a, you know, a soul of the composer who wrote it. You know, like the feelings of that person who wrote it, the story of whenever they were going through at that point. You know, and if you really listen, you can find that story and you can connect with it too. Or maybe put your own life experiences to that same feeling. Ever.
That's so well put. Yeah. You talked about how Michael Jordan worked out before a game. Do you have some sort of pre-performance ritual that you go through?
Well, I do take power naps. I really think naps are important for me. I tend to burn pretty hot and fast. So like midday, I usually just try to take a power nap. 20 minutes is really all I need. As soon as my eyes shut, I wake up, you know, but it's one of those things that just kind of helps me punctuate my day. You know, that's something I really, I think about the first half of my day, I take my nap, and then the second half of my day. And, you know, it's, if I don't have that, you know, that halfway point, you know, and it's just a time where I'm just like, you know, not thinking about anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm like just taking a moment just to myself. And it really just, it helps me so much. I don't know. I just feel like a new person after that 20-minute nap.
I'm a strong believer in power naps too.
It's so important, right?
Yeah.
I drink tea. I like tea. First thing in the morning, I drink a cup of tea or two. But yeah, I enjoy that, and make sure that like I don't start my day with my phone, because if I do, I feel like a ping pong ball. And you know, if I, you know, I just feel like I'm bouncing from this to that to this to that, and so I, you know, wake up, deliberately don't look at my phone first thing of the day, and I just take some time. I just kind of like make my tea, and you know, I have like a really nice Japanese teapot. You know, I heat the water to a specific temperature and make, you know, loosely sencha tea, and it's just kind of that tea routine, you know, that
like a grounding.
Yeah, like, no, I feel like that's something really important. Also, you know, exercise. Yeah, sometimes before concerts, I enjoy like a 10-minute run, or I really enjoy getting in the water, especially here at Romania. Like, even go out and go to the beach. Just, you know, I'm getting Lake Michigan. It's just so centering for me to just be, you know, I just feel like after I come out of the water, I'm just like a much calmer and better version of myself. Yeah, and, you know, depending on the show, like leaving enough time so I'm not rushed to the hall. And then I like to sit on the stage and just really look at the back of the hall. You know, I look at the room, and I know it's a big room. So when I'm warming up, I just like to open my sound up and think about filling the back of the hall. It's really just a nice feeling. You know, I do this really simple pitch bending exercise, and it just really I do it chromatically, and it just feels like it opens up my tone, and it gets me kind of like adjusted to my sound in the room. And then I, go off, and I always make sure I use the bathroom before I go on stage, maybe TMI, but, I always make sure that, like, I've been in situations where that, there was an opera, and I, like, the first half of the opera was just like, it couldn't have been longer. It was just like, oh my gosh, it felt so long, and I barely made it out of the opera pit, and I was like running. But that's, standard operating procedure.
Yes.
Right? So.
And speaking of pre-performance routine, I should probably let you go so you could go warm up. So in wrapping this up, is there something that you would like to pass on to the audience? Maybe a tip, I call this the actionable tip, that they could implement either in the practice room or in their life, that is something maybe that was beneficial for you that you'd like to share with them?
Well, I would say, don't be afraid to fail. I think failure isn't anything to be ashamed of. Failure is something that, a lot of times we want to avoid at all costs because it's painful. Mm-hmm. But I think failure is only truly a failure if you don't learn, right? And so the real failure would be to have something like that, like, happen to you that's, quote unquote, not positive, and to not grow from it and not learn from it and be bitter about it, right? So, like, setbacks are going to happen. We're going to have things in our career that we don't want to have happen, right? Like, we won't end up getting the part that we wanted. We, don't make the audition. We don't get tenure, whatever, right? These things are part of life. We don't always get what we want. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that if you're still growing, it's a win. If you've improved, it's a win. If you're learning, right? Like, and I think for me, I've had to redefine what a success is. Success is, did I get better at my instrument? Did I become more confident in myself? Did I trust myself more? Do I maybe value the things that I have, right? Instead of the thing, it's not so much about the things that, all the things that I want, right? It's about how I feel about the things that I have, And so taking that and just saying, like, hey, like, I'm playing music today at whatever level, and just looking at that as like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to play music because it's something I love doing. And, here I am, like, getting to play on stage with the Chicago Symphony. It's like, if you would have told me that when I was 20, 2 years old, I would have been like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. And if you said, like, you'd only be here for 4 years, I'd say, that's still amazing. This is, and then, I can't feel any less about anything I've done just because it's, not as long as I would have wanted it to be. I have to feel like, and the part that's awesome is that, I got to be here. I got to spend time with these people and, like, learn from them and, like, work with, amazing conductors and, play amazing music. And in the process, like, I've really improved my practice. I've become more consistent. I figured out ways to maybe be a better colleague or be more responsible or whatever, or things I can do to really make myself that, 0.01% better, whether it be like mentally consistent or calmer or whatever. So, I have to, like, look for the wins even in the moments where it feels, maybe not, it's not the outcome that I would have wanted. Yeah. And then everything can be a winning experience. So, I think, redefine success as learning and growing, not on the outcome or the title.
Such powerful words.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. It's really nice to speak with you. And, it's really, it's a gift, thank you for letting me share it.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with David Cooper. You know, I absolutely love what he shares with us at the end when it comes to not being afraid of failure. He beautifully reminds us that failure isn't the end. It's a stepping stone to growth. His perspective on setbacks and redefining success as learning and growing is a lesson that we can all carry with us on our journeys, both musical and personal. In the classical world, we often set high standards for ourselves, aiming for specific outcomes. But the true magic happens when we shift our focus to the process, the learning, and the self-improvement. That's where the real success lies. And it's a mindset that can bring joy and fulfillment to every day. And if you're currently dealing with the aftermath of something you perceive as a failure, and you feel like you might need support and guidance finding your footing, book a consult with me. Head over to mindoverfinger.com/coaching or click the link in the show notes. When you book your free consultation, you and I will talk. We're going to go over what's going on for you right now. We're going to discuss strategies to help you process it, and we will create a blueprint to help you move forward and get the results you want. I work with my clients one-on-one for 6 months to transform their mindset, their career, and their life. The call is completely free, and either way, you're going to walk away from that call with clarity. All right, that's what I have for you this week. Much love going your way, and à bientôt.